Let's go through the different constituents. Obviously, the economy for everybody. It's true throughout the country, but it's also especially true in the 9th District because, look, in Patterson, you have a 15% unemployment rate. That's unbelievably high. You have $35,000 median income for a two-parent household in Patterson, which is well below the state average. State average is about $55,000. So the economic damage in our district in particular is very acute, and that's magnified by the outrageous taxes in this area. You know, Bergen-County has some of the highest real estate taxes in the country. But then within the constituents, you have strong communities who have issues that are very important and very relevant to them. In the Arab American community, I've consistently said, you know, when I champion things like Syria, you know, Arab Americans are justifiably interested in what America does to protect Arab life abroad. And let's not pretend that Syria is not an important issue. It's on the front page of the New York Times nearly every day. It's dominating world headlines. And the same thing is true with the aftermath of the war in Iraq and the continued war in Afghanistan. The Islamic community in the 9th District, I think, wants to know and feel that the United States cares about Arab life and is also sensitive to Islamic concerns, especially in the theaters of war where the United States is operating. And I think they care greatly about schools and ensuring that their kids can have an Islamic education and know their religion. Believe it or not, the Armenian community, 6% of the district, they will tell you that the continued American non-recognition of the Armenian genocide bothers them tremendously till today. In France, they've now made it a law that you cannot deny the Armenian genocide. It's a crime. Here in the United States, we don't even recognize it as a genocide. If you speak to the Armenian leaders, this is one of the main issues that's on their mind constantly. You go to the Jewish community, obviously Israel is very important. The Jewish community is 15% of the district. America's relationship with Israel is very important. The security of the state of Israel is very important, but the most important thing that they're focused on is Iran. And Iran building a nuclear device, which they say constantly they're planning to wipe Israel off the map. You know, we've had that kind of language used in Mein Kampf in the 1920s when people dismissed it as the ravings of a madman, but it turned out that he tried to implement what he said. So we Jews cannot afford to turn a deaf ear to that kind of rhetoric. If you go to the Korean community, they're very entrepreneurial, very industrious. They want a relaxation of regulations, and you know, I speak to their leaders. They want government out of the way so they could be much more productive. Like every segment, but especially the Korean community is very focused on, we want to be productive and we don't want the government in the way. You know, interestingly, they're naturally, it would seem that they would naturally gravitate towards the Republican Party in that regard. They have to become more politically involved themselves, and they realize this in being registered to vote, et cetera, et cetera. And I've made a real effort to involve the Korean community because I respect greatly their commitment to their Christianity. They're a very strong Christian community, and they're very focused on family, even generationally. You know, the importance of grandparents and the parents and the children all respecting each other, and you know, the Jewish community. This is also very important to us. So depending on the various constituencies, you have they all share interests, and then they have their own particular individual interests. But the Korean community is also very focused on American policy with regards to South and North Korea. I don't think you can't really separate out the foreign policy issues that affect so many of the constituencies because there are such large immigrant communities in the 9th District.